attorney for former LSU football player Kyren Lacy released a video challenging the version of events Louisiana State Police used to cite Lacy in a December auto accident which claimed the life of 78-year-old Herman Hall. On Tuesday, State Police released a video and records defending their initial findings that alleged Lacy's operation of the vehicle created a chain of events that resulted in the crash that claimed Hall's life. I apologize for the incomplete reaction that aired on this show on Monday night.
That was an apology. Well, it was half an apology from Scott Van Pelt last night. It would have been a complete apology if Scott Van Pelt had just admitted that he was wrong, that he jumped to conclusions, that he was influenced by a man with feminine tendencies, a man who is an emotional thinker, a man who emotionally reacts first and then thinks later. There is a reason I refer to him as Kyren Ryan Clark. That is not hyperbole. That is an accurate description of a man who has absolutely no control of his emotions. Before we get started, credit to Scott Van Pelt for being man enough to apologize. Same with Pat McAfee. We all make mistakes. We're all guilty at some point of jumping to conclusions. Hell, I was guilty of doing this earlier this week. When we initially started talking about Mark Sanchez and the 69-year-old man that he attacked in Indianapolis, I told you guys that the man synonymous with the butt fumble would be fine from a legal perspective. I said that Mark Sanchez would not serve time in prison, and rightfully so. Prison is for real criminals. Prison should be reserved for members of Antifa. Matter of fact, I would not mind if the Trumper used the 5-figure check that I just sent the IRS to start building new state-of-the-art dumps specifically for Antifa. Since the WNBA has recently upgraded to the Platinum Pooper, I'm sure they could donate the formerly used golden toilet. Hell, the toxic turds from Antifa would have the gold melting off the toilet in no time. But anyway, I was wrong about Mark Sanchez. I was basing my opinion on information that was available at the time. Initially, Mark Sanchez was only charged with misdemeanors, but once more information, more evidence was gathered by the prosecutors, they upgraded the charges to serious felonies. And it's entirely possible that Mark Sanchez going to prison. So Uncle Casey was wrong. I jumped to conclusions. Having the ability to admit when you're wrong is a sign of maturity. Having the ability to admit that you don't know everything is a sign of wisdom. I have no problem telling you when I'm wrong. I have no problem with you guys telling me when I'm wrong. But there is a huge difference in making honest mistakes and being intentionally misleading. There is a huge difference in being wrong and being a liar. Unfortunately for ESPN, I think Ryan Clark is a liar. We have too much evidence. We have too many instances proving that Kyren Ryan is a professional race baiter. Hell, when it comes to race, Ryan Clark has become the master baiter. And that makes sense because the business of mythical racism is bankrupt. Look at the destruction. Look at the media careers that have been destroyed because they chose to embrace the great myth. Jamel Hill, Bomani Jones, the originator of the term huge embarrassing failure. We have an award show every December here on the channel, the HEF Awards, the Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards, that were created and designed to honor the great failure of failures. The Wicked Weave, Joy Reid, Tiffany Cross, Don Lemon. I'm sure there are some honorable mentions that I'm forgetting about right now, but the point is, the business of mythical racism is a proven failure. The business is a guaranteed way to destroy your media career, yet for some reason, Ryan Clark continues to desperately try to revive this bankrupt business. And it already should have cost him his job at the worldwide leader in woke, ESPN. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Gonna have 2 videos on the second channel today. Trying to get caught up. I lost a full day yesterday because AT&T was having serious issues with YouTube. Had to go to my sister's office just to upload the 1 video I was able to upload yesterday. It was an absolute nightmare. Upload speeds were non-existent. It was taking 24 hours just to upload a single video. Thankfully, myself and other YouTubers came together on Twitter. Once we made enough noise, AT&T finally acknowledged and addressed the problem. They finally fixed it around 9 o'clock this morning, but that is the reason that we were not on our usual schedule yesterday. Monday night, Chiefs Jaguars. They presented a classic on Monday Night Football. Now, ironically enough, a few hours before the game, I was complaining about the quality of play in the NFL and the abundance of garbage teams throughout the league. A couple of hours later, we got one of the best games so far this season. After the game, ESPN presented the post-game show. Now, unlike the WNBA, where the game ends and ESPN immediately cuts to something, anything that people are actually willing to watch, when Monday Night Football ends, ESPN always dedicates 30 minutes, a full hour, to talking about the game. Scott Van Pelt hosts the show. It's his nightly edition of SportsCenter. And for reasons unknown, ESPN continues to feature Captain Doofus, Ryan Clark. I am struggling to understand how Ryan Clark still has a job. This emotional disaster is the definition of liability. And liability was damn sure what he created Monday night, because if I was the attorney for the Louisiana State Police, I would be suing ESPN for slander and defamation. Last year, LSU receiver Kyren Lacy, he was charged with negligent homicide. He was allegedly speeding and illegally passing cars, which allegedly caused an accident that took the life of a 78-year-old victim. Unfortunately, Kyren Lacy never got his day in court because he took his own life back in April. Got into an argument with a family member, fired a gun into the ground, then got in his car and sped away. Police ended up pursuing him, and it was later determined that he had taken his own life before the police could catch up with him. It's a tragic story. A young man with his entire life ahead of him. A young man who was likely heading to the NFL. A young man who made a mistake that a lot of young men make. When you're young, you don't realize the real-life consequences of your actions. You don't realize that reckless driving can change your life forever. Now, I'm sure some of you are probably wondering, why in the hell was Ryan Clark talking about Kyren Lacy on the post-game show of Monday Night Football? That is an excellent question. It's a question that we often ask when we're talking about Ryan Clark, because Crying Ryan often talks about things on ESPN's platform that have absolutely nothing to do with his job title, which is analyzing the NFL. Last week, Kyren Lacy's lawyers released video footage that supposedly proved his innocence. Crying Ryan, Scott Van Pelt, they reacted to the footage, and Crying Ryan accused the police of doctoring the footage to prove Kyren Lacy's guilt. Translation: Ryan Clark wanted you to believe that this was another case of the police targeting a young black man. And the insinuation here is that the police are somehow responsible for his tragic death. Watch for yourself.
Kyren Lacy was accused of something and being investigated for something that he didn't do, and he died having to live with the guilt and the consequences of a guilty man knowing he was innocent. Police and state policemen tried to coerce and doctor and use ways to manipulate statements that put this young man behind bars. They changed his joy, they changed his life, and eventually he took his own life. At some point throughout his career, I would expect to have said his name. So I'm gonna say his name tonight.
Amen.
Kyren Lacy was innocent.
Did you hear Scott Van Pelt say amen? I've been telling you guys, Kyren Ryan desperately wants to replace Father Jalen Rose as the lead pastor at Woke United Methodist. Every single time this dude speaks, he is giving a passionate sermon. Ryan Clark's not an NFL analyst. He clearly wants to be a pastor. He wants to be a motivational speaker, which fine. That's fine. If that's what Ryan Clark wants to do, go for it. But in the meantime, get off my TV. ESPN has a serious problem here. Once again, Ryan Clark, wrong. Once again, Kyren Ryan is jumping to conclusions. Louisiana Police, they released the full video footage, and it shows that Kyren Lacy was driving erratically and potentially caused the accident. The police did not doctor the footage. It looks like the defense attorney did. His lawyer showed you what he wanted you to see, or, to be fair to the lawyer, maybe he didn't have access to the full video. I'm no legal expert. I assume the lawyer would have access to the full video through discovery, but I don't know. What I do know is Ryan Clark was once again wrong about something involving race. Shocker! Some are pressuring ESPN to force Kyren Ryan to apologize. Uncle KC does not want to hear it. I am tired of apologies from Ryan Clark. I am tired of Ryan Clark apologizing for being who he is. There's no need for him to apologize. This is who Ryan Clark is. He is obsessed with race. He views everything through the lens of race. And more importantly, Ryan Clark has been given far too many chances. Earlier this year, he apologized to RG3, better known as Bob Griffin the Trace. Ryan Clark apologized to Bob for racially charged comments that he made about Bob's lovely wife. He apologized to Peter Schrager for trying to humiliate him on national television. Ryan Clark refused to work with Sage Steele because she didn't understand or agree with his unhealthy obsession with race. Ryan Clark refuses to buy crayons because Crayola includes the color white. There are no more excuses. There are no more apologies. You can't keep making intentional mistakes and then apologizing for it later. Ryan Clark should be fired. Ryan Clark should have been fired by Tuesday morning. Hell, he should have been fired years ago. But KC, you don't want Scott Van Pelt or Pat McAfee fired. This is so racist. Scott Van Pelt doesn't have a long history of being a liability. Pat McAfee has made some mistakes, but here's the difference between Pat McAfee and Ryan Clark, and you can include Stephen A. Smith on the Pat McAfee side of this. People actually watch Pat McAfee. They watch Stephen A. Smith. No one, and I mean no one, is watching ESPN to see Ryan Clark. Truth is, ESPN has always been afraid to fire Kyren Ryan because they know he will accuse them of mythical racism. But it's getting to the point. Hell, it's past the point of Ryan Clark being more trouble than he is worth. And in terms of ratings, Ryan Clark is worthless. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.